You got a nice wall back there.
Yeah, this is I tell a lot of people this is actually the bedroom which I grew up in.
Really?
Literally. Yeah, literally.
That's fun. So
Yeah.
you grew up in what is it, Nottingham, around that area?
Yeah, I'm right. I'm just outside Nottingham. Nottingham's kind of like the when people from outside the UK say, "Where are you from?" So
Yeah.
yeah, near Nottingham. Everyone knows Robin Hood country. So
Right, right. Okay.
yes,
What was it like growing up out there?
it was great. I mean, I was a big, as you can probably tell from the show, I was a big pop culture kid,
Yeah.
and I kind of had this cool dynamic in a way. My mum and dad, well, it's not that's not a cool element, but my mum and dad split up when I was like 3.5, 4 years old, and my dad
Mm.
moved to the USA. So I had this kind of multi-dynamic thing. So I always had this connection with America, with my dad being over there. So I used to spend summer
Right,
vacations there and stuff like that. So I love
right.
everything about America. So it's always been in my heart. So as you can see from the wall, I think everything's
Yeah, yeah.
American pop culture related.
How old were you when you first came over to the States? Do you remember?
Um, I think it was. I keep trying to figure it out because it was at my very first Halloween.
Okay.
I think it was 1982, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
So I
You
was
remember
like,
what you were for Halloween?
yeah, I was Boba Fett.
The plastic with the plastic face?
Yep, with
Those
like the cheap masks which you get, like the
Yeah.
suit. I got it from where did we get it from? I think I got it from. It might have been Walgreens. I think.
Okay. Okay. I was Boba Fett as well when I was a kid
Yes.
with the plastic suit and the mask. You and I have a very similar path that we've taken. From what I know of you, it's very similar. I mean, we're into the same stuff, kind of, you know, same music, same everything. And I thought that was very interesting. And
Yeah, I
now,
love.
now you were Boba Fett as well as I was.
And there's a bass. We each got a bass in the background.
Yeah, and you got a plaid shirt on.
There you go. Awesome, man.
uh, but yeah, so those costumes, those were something else back in the day.
Yeah, for sure. Is it scary or sad that I've still got mine?
Do you have it right by you?
Not right by me.
Oh
No,
man.
it's in the attic. I don't have the mask because those things just disintegrated.
Mhm.
They're just
Yeah.
cracked. And but the suit, it's like it's brand new.
Wow, man. We
I
got to
can't
get
get
on
in it
some.
anymore.
I want to see that thing sometime.
I've got a photograph. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I wish I had a photograph of mine.
But yeah, I kind of left turned a little bit. But yeah, growing up was great. I always lots of friends, no
Mhm.
problems, cool. The school was literally just down the road from me, still is.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I'm in the bedroom I grew up in, my mum moved away from me when
Mhm.
I was like about 19, something like that. She moved to Wales, and me and my girlfriend and now my wife, we took over the house. So I've been
Oh,
in this
good.
place for like over 40 years.
Wow. Yeah. You ever get the urge to want to go somewhere else or no?
Not really.
Good.
We've got great neighbors. It's a great area. And I mean, I've been playing in bands for the last 25 years. And I always say to
Mm.
people, we're right in the middle of the country.
Mm.
So I can get to anywhere pretty much other
Yeah. It
than
makes
the
it
tip
easy.
of Scotland within a few hours. So it's a really convenient place.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you into sports when you were a kid, or was it all music, or what were you
Um,
into?
I'm going to go soccer because I know you guys call it soccer.
What
I
do you
was into
call it?
that.
Football?
Yeah, we call it football.
Yeah.
I was into that big time, like pretty much everybody over here. The team was Nottingham Forest, who I supported, and we had a legendary manager called Brian Clough, and I was into them around, I think it was maybe 85, 86, 87 time,
Mhm.
right up until when I got into music. But I also love basketball as well, a big basketball fan.
Okay.
But I kind of jumped ship before the whole Chicago Bulls
Mhm.
explosion. I was into
Mhm.
Michael Jordan when he first did the tennis shoes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I kind of bailed because I think they had all the big success
Mhm.
in, was it in the very early 90s? So I was like knee deep in hair metal by that time.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you find your love for the hair metal scene? Was it when you were in the States, or was that big over where you were?
It never really got that big over here. I mean, some of the bands had some big hits. I mean, obviously Bon Jovi, Def
Mm.
Leppard, who are from Sheffield, which is like an hour away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But it never exploded like it did over there. That's why I love going over there. I mean, when I was over there into music in the summers of 90 and 91, when it was still hanging on before everything changed, just seeing all those bands on MTV was amazing. So I think I discovered it I always keep telling people it was through movie soundtracks.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously I'm a big film fan, and I used to buy the soundtracks, and I think the music kind of got in my head, and eventually saw a Poison video in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was hooked from then.
Did you have MTV over where you were?
We did, but not as easily accessible as you guys. We had it. I'm trying to think what access we had to it, really. It wasn't until, let me think, you could probably get it in the late 80s, but it didn't become mainstream until well into the 90s over here.
Okay.
So we just had to kind of grab what little bits we could get. We had something called the Chart Show, which was on Saturday mornings, and each week it'd do like a speciality rundown. So one week it would be the dance chart, next week it'd be the alternative chart, and then it'd be the rock chart. So you had to wait about 3 weeks before you got to see these videos, which is tough.
Yeah, if you're into the rock scene and the videos, that would be tough.
Yeah, and I think it blows people's minds because I've got a good friend of mine who we played in bands with for a few years. We're in a band called Teenage Casket Company. Rob Wild, he plays in Tiger Tails now. I don't know if you remember that band.
I do remember Tiger Tails.
Yeah,
I think I have a cassette tape of Tiger Tails. Is it Berserk?
Yeah, that's right. It's the
that's
second
what I got.
album, I think. Yeah, he joined them about 10 years ago, and he's the singer for them now. But we were kind of like hard rock brothers when we met in the early 2000s, and it blows our minds when we speak to people from the States, and you guys had like Warrant videos as the mainstream. That was unheard of over here. Right. We were lucky if we got a Poison video or even a Bon Jovi video.
That's so interesting to me. I don't know why, but growing up with those bands, I just thought they were just huge everywhere.
Yeah, it's weird. Other than the really big ones, I mean, like Kiss had some massive hits, and Bon Jovi are a stadium band over here still. But other than that, not many filtered through. When Van Halen came over in, I think it was 1995, they actually supported Bon Jovi, which...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In 95.
On the Balance tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of
so interesting.
Baffles people that Van Halen's supporting Bon Jovi. That's like really weird.
Right. It is. Yeah. Wow. So you're into all this music, and then you were also into all the 80s shows and everything.
Oh yeah.
And was that from coming over to the States as well, or were those shows were you able to watch those over there?
No, they were big over here. That was one thing that cracked everything from, well, probably even going back to the 70s onwards, all those big TV shows, starting from $6 Million Man, Starsky and Hutch, right through to the stuff I was into, which was all the classics like Knight Rider, Airwolf.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers was a favorite of mine.
Buck Rogers?
The A-Team, all that kind of.
I think I was into probably the A-Team and Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Knight Rider had there was a time where you could send in for the blueprints of Kit. I don't know if you remember that.
Wow, no.
Yeah, so you had to mail a letter, of course, because there's no email or anything. But you mail in a letter and they would send you back this blueprints of Kit, which I did, and I don't have it anymore though. I still have a lot of my stuff, all my G.I. Joes, Star Wars, all those.
Yeah.
But
excellent.
Yeah, but
it probably costs next to nothing. You'd probably have to pay good money for something like that. But back then, you had to either save some little proofs of purchase or something, and you get stuff for free.
Yeah. So you mentioned some soundtracks. What were some of your favorite soundtracks?
I think the very first album which I ever brought was the Flash Gordon soundtrack, which Queen did.
Yeah,
I always recall that as being like the first album, which I thought, right, I want to go and buy this. Well, whether I brought it or not, I'd still been really young. I'd have been like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, but I've still got that with the great yellow cover. But the next one after that was probably the Ghostbusters soundtrack, which was huge for me and my stepsister. We adored that film in '84 when it came out.
Yeah, everybody loved that one. That was a good one.
But after that, it was just every time a film came out, I wanted the soundtrack every time. So stuff like Beverly Hills Cop and Fright Night is a great soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so much good stuff. And yeah, just listening to that stuff, and there'd be a wide range of music. And also, I became a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan in the mid to late 80s, and they always had great hard rock soundtracks on there, like Vinnie Vincent Invasion and Romeo's Daughter, and later on the Goo Goo Dolls and all that kind of thing.
Dokken was a big one.
Exactly, yeah. Getting the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 VHS cassette and exclusive Dokken music video.
Yeah. Do you remember a film called Rad?
I do know the film. I've never seen it though. The BMX movie.
Yeah, the BMX movie. That was probably one of my favorite soundtracks.
Right.
But I used to ride BMX back then, so and to see him do the tricks and stuff in the movie, then I'd want to be the same person. So I'd go out with my little radio with the soundtrack playing, trying to do my tricks, hurting myself.
I need to track that movie down. It may be on YouTube or something, but it is one that's always escaped me.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, his favorite film of all time is Thrashing, the skateboard
Thrashing,
movie.
yeah. That was around the same time, I believe. Yeah. And then there was another BMX movie. It was called BMX Bandits.
Yes,
that was.
We got that one. That was on the cinema over here.
Yeah. Because was that an Australian film?
Yeah, Nicole Kidman's very first film.
First film. Yeah. That was. That was my go-to was Rad soundtrack.
Yeah. Interestingly, I don't know how deep you got into BMX, but the little village which I live, it's a tiny village, but one of like the world championship BMX racers, he's from this village. He's like a couple of years older than me, a guy called Dale Holmes. He lives in the US now, but he was like everybody's hero in the early 80s. He built a BMX track and just went on to win all these tournaments, and just world champion now. Well, not now, but back in the day. And now he teaches BMX and all that kind of stuff. So
nice. Yeah, I was heavily into it back at probably about I want to say maybe 10 years ago or so. I got to be friends with an actor named Bill Allen, who played the main character in Rad.
Oh wow! How'd you guys get in touch?
Well, you know what happened is when I moved to California, I'm in South Carolina now, but I lived in California for a little bit. I reached out to him one day because I was doing web design at the time. I said, "Hey, man, if you're interested in a website, I'd love to help you out."
Yeah.
And he got back to me, and that's how we became friends.
Superb.
That was pretty cool. Watching him in the films as a kid, being a BMXer, and now helping him out with his website. That was great.
How does the film hold up these days? Have you watched it recently?
I do. I watch it with my kids, and their attention span with kids these days is a little different than when we were kids. So I still like it, but I think part of that is just because of what it meant to me back in the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
pulls on the heartstrings. You'll feel warm and fuzzy when it comes on.
Right. Yeah. You have to check it out. Let me know what you think.
Definitely. Yeah.
So how did you get into music? Like how did that happen? Did you just come across it, or did you know people that played, or
as in like performing and picking up an instrument kind of thing?
What made you want to start playing?
I think it's once that kind of hard rock bug kicked in properly. I think everybody wants to have a shot at it at some point. Like, maybe I could do that. Because I'm a pretty, I don't know if I'm a shy person. I'm a pretty quiet person, but I think everybody likes to show off every now and again. So maybe that was a way to do that. And I brought, a friend of mine was selling a guitar, just a regular guitar. I think I brought it for maybe, I think it was like £10, which works out probably like $15 or something.
Okay.
And I remember bringing it home and sitting, it was probably in this exact room actually, sitting with it on my knee thinking, what the hell am I going to do with this thing? It's so intimidating when you have no idea, because I'd never played a musical instrument before. But I took a few guitar lessons. A few friends of mine all started playing guitar at the same time. So we could all take lessons together and do like jams. My friend owned like a bar or a pub, what we call, in the local village, and we used to jam in his back room where he had a snooker table. So we used to play there. And yeah, just one thing led to another. I think about 2 years in, I always tell the story. I was playing guitar, then I met a guy called Todd Jensen from the band Hardline. I don't know if you remember them from the early 90s. They were supporting the band Extreme.
Yes.
And we went to see them in Birmingham. And I met him at the show, and he was the bass player for Hardline. He was just so cool to us. Me and my friend stood talking to us for like 15 minutes. I'd seen him before playing for David Lee Roth, and that was it. Todd Jensen plays bass, so I'm going to get a bass.
Really, Todd Jensen. Okay, that's interesting.
And he's just got the Journey gig, interestingly. He's playing for Journey now, so I was like, wow, I can do no wrong.
Are you in communication with him?
Yeah, we one thing which was cool about the band Hardline, this is back in the day, way before internet, as you know, and used to write to all these bands, and they'd actually write back to you. So I used to get postcards from him and all kinds of things like that. So we kind of stayed in touch that way. Then a few years later, he reformed his old band called Sequel from Portland. And I did their MySpace page for them and all that kind of thing. MySpace. So we reconnected that way. Yeah. And we just stayed in touch, not as much as we used to, but we're in touch on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So he's responsible for the last 25 years of my life.
So your first band, was that Teenage Casket Company? Your first main band?
No, I did like a few local jams with some friends and stuff like that before then. And I was in a band called Courtesan, which strangely enough, this was like in the late 90s. That was kind of the first band where I started gigging regularly. Strangely enough, I filled in on bass for them a few weeks ago. My friend Johnny kept the band going. Then he rang me up. He says, "Our bass player can't do this gig. Can you come and play with us again?" I was like, so that was kind of surreal, rewinding the clock for like 20 years. So I did that for a few years. Then I joined a band called Dip, which was DIP. Just a really fun, quirky, odd band. Influences from like Van Halen, Faith No More, Black Sabbath, Weezer, just everything thrown into a pot. And that was kind of the band where I really began to learn, I guess, if you want to call it showmanship on stage, but also stuff like merchandise and releasing a proper CD and all that kind of thing. So this is like, it's probably 2001, 2002, something like that. And then I met up with Rob Wild. I don't know if you've ever heard of a club called Rock City in Nottingham. A famous club over here in the UK, one of the best, like holds about 2,000 people. So one of the best venues for that kind of size band. Guns N' Roses played there before they blew up, and everybody's played there really over the years. And we met one night. He says, "I'm putting together this band." Well, you can probably remember early 2000s, all the kind of music we were into, the hard rock stuff. It was nowhere to be seen. So he says, "I want to put together this band that's kind of like All American Rejects and trying to think of the other bands, Butch Walker, all that kind of stuff, just the power pop kind of thing." So I was like, I am in. So yeah, and that's when Teenage Casket Company began. And that was the band which kind of, I don't know, well, it took us to America, took us to Europe, did a bunch of CDs, played with many of our heroes, got to see even like guys from Danger Danger came out to see us when we played in New York and all that kind of stuff. So for us, tell the 16, 17-year-old version of us that Steve West and Bruno Ravel are going to come out and see you, we'd be like, holy crap.
Now, did they know the band, or did you guys know them? Or
yeah, we got to know them just as fans, really. And they kind of dug what we were into. So we'd stayed in touch, and they came out to see us on 2 occasions. So Steve West came to see us at Don Hill's in Manhattan the first time we went over to the States. Like, holy crap, Steve West from Danger Danger's here.
That's always fun when that happens.
Then the following year, both him and Bruno came along to watch us play. So yeah, they've always been really cool supporters of everything we've done, really. And then you played a little bit with Bulletboys. Yep.
Right. How'd that happen?
That was cool for me, because I think Bulletboys are one of those really great bands from that era. Proper standout bands. The first album, well, the first 3 albums still sound incredible.
Yeah, that first album is fantastic.
Yeah. And how that happened was, you've probably been to gigs where there's just like one guy from the original lineup and like hired guns and all this kind of stuff. And, I'd been seeing quite a few bands come to Nottingham where one tour in particular, I think it was, who was it? I think it was Bang Tango and Pretty Boy Floyd.
Okay.
There was just Steve Summers from Pretty Boy Floyd and Joe Lestay from Bang Tango, and they had the same band for each set. I was like, well, this is cool. The guys in the band are really cool, but it'd be quite cool if it was a different band each time.
Yeah.
So all I did was message the booking agents, found out who the booking agent was for that tour, emailed them and says, hey, I play bass. Here's the bands I play in. Here's some photographs. If you ever need anybody when they come to the UK, give me a shout. Didn't hear anything back, not even a reply, thanks very much or anything. Then maybe 3 months later, this email drops into my inbox saying, hey, this is such and such from, it was Artists Worldwide. How do you want to play bass for Bulletboys on a UK European tour with Enough's Enough and Faster Pussycat?
Just
no
like
audition. Yeah.
Man.
I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah,
so they put a lot of trust in me on that one, or they were very desperate. So yeah, rocked up at the Heathrow airport on the first day of the tour. I knew Chips enough. He was the only guy I've met before. But other than that, I didn't know anybody. And yeah, it was straight in.
That's amazing.
Two songs at sound check. Away you go.
So when you walk into the room, what does Mark say to you? He's the only guy from Bulletboys there, but I mean, was he like approving, or did he just, that's what he got?
It was pretty quiet at first. I think everyone was jet lagged because it was an early morning flight, but it was like, hey, thanks for doing this. And that was about
That's it.
Yeah. But it went great. Everybody on that tour was awesome. And I love Mark dearly. He's a great guy. I did a few tours with him and we've always stayed in touch. And to see that band back together again now, the original line, to me is great. And they still look cool.
Yeah.
Sound badass.
Yeah, I've seen some of their clips. I haven't seen them, but I've seen some of their clips recently, and it's killer.
Yeah, but I can't get Mark on the podcast. I cannot get him on the podcast.
Have you asked him?
Yes, many times.
Like, did you ask him, or through email?
Just through WhatsApp, email, everything. When you got to come on my show? Yeah, I'm up for it. I'll do it.
That's one of the struggles of being a podcaster is getting some guests sometimes.
I can get Mick Swader, this guitarist who I've never met before.
You never met him?
No.
Yeah, I had Mick on my show too. He was a great guy.
He's really cool. I think all of them seem like great dudes.
Yeah,
Jimmy seems really cool, and Lonnie's just got a great, chilled, laid back vibe to him. I'd love to meet Lonnie.
When I was a kid, we used to just go on tour buses. When I was a kid back in the day, security wasn't as tight as it is now. So
what was the first one?
The first bus?
Yeah, first band that you met on the tour bus.
Oh man, I don't remember the first one, but I walked on Bulletboys bus one time, and Lonnie flipped out on me. That was the first time anybody ever flipped out. He's like, "You can't just walk on here. This is our home." I was like, "Oh, I'm only like 16, 17, I was like, "Oh, fuck you, dude."
Wow.
I'll leave. But most of the time, believe it or not, they just look at you, and it was like they didn't know who you were. You just sit down and start talking.
Awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah, we used to do all kinds of fun stuff like that.
Where was that at?
That was in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, was in the Tampa area in Florida.
I bet all those bands came through that way, right?
Yes. Back in the day, I mean, you name it, I probably saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to take me when I was really young, when I was 14 or so. He used to take me to anybody that came through town, because we used to get to see him there was a town called Lakeland that was close by Tampa, and then Fort Myers was a couple hours away, Fort Myers, Florida. So the bands would always play those two cities.
Sweet.
So we used to go to both shows. Motley Crue, actually saw Motley Crue at Guns N' Roses opening up. That was a fun tour.
Man. And your dad was into all that stuff as well.
He was into it too. Yeah, he would take me. Yeah, just let me do my thing. Judas Priest, Cinderella, you name it, we went. Good times. Yeah,
there's so many bands I've not seen. It's crazy. No.
Who's somebody you want to see or would have liked to seen?
Well, I never saw Warrant with Janie Lane, which is a massive bummer. Another story I always tell, I had tickets to see them with opening for David Lee Roth. back in the day, you used to buy your tickets from the local record shop, and you also brought a bus ticket as well. So you went on like a coach trip to the gig, and we had tickets for David Lee Roth and Warrant in, when was it, 1991, I believe, on the Little Ain't Enough tour. And we got on the bus, everybody's there, and the guy gets thrown. Oh, we just found out the support band have cancelled. He didn't know they were. They've been replaced. And just me and my friend, we were gutted.
Yeah.
Because that was the main reason we were going, because we got the Cherry Pie album.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently they'd played the night before. And the story is that Janie fell through the stage and cracked some ribs. I don't know the whole truth of that story.
But you do know they weren't there.
I do know they weren't there, yeah. But on the flip side, it got me 100% into David Lee Roth, because I was still new to stuff. I knew of Van Halen, but I didn't know that much. But Dave was great. So that was the semi-bonus.
Yeah. You're a huge Van Halen fan, right?
Yeah, they became like my go-to band, really.
Okay.
I was super late getting into them. It was like the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. So I was like, well late into the day. I knew like Jump and Why Can't This Be Love? They were the only really big hits in the UK. But I always say it was cool for me. I got into them heavily. I could get a brand new Van Halen album every week.
There you go. Yeah, they were my first concert, actually. It was the 5150 tour.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, beat Bachman Turner Overdrive opening for them.
That Live Without a Net VHS. I always say, you show me a band that's having more fun on stage during that time. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, they were so great. Good. So after Bulletboys, I mean, did that open doors for you for your career?
It did. For a while, I kind of became a bit of a go-to guy for anybody coming to the UK. I got to know the guys from Enough's Enough on that initial tour. And through that, Randy Scott, the drummer of Enough's Enough at the time, he played with a guy called Tori Stoffragan. I don't know if you crossed paths with him at all. Amazing guitarist. But he had a band called the Black Mollies, which was very in the vein of like Everclear and Lit, all those kind of really cool late 90s bands. And we did a couple of tours with them. Same thing. Randy and Tori flew over, and I played bass on those tours. And those songs were so good. If anyone loves Lit or Everclear or any of that kind of stuff, check out the Black Mollies, because it's so well done. And Tori's gone on. Me and Tori played in the Bulletboys in 2009. And now Tori plays in Enough's Enough full time. He's been with them for quite a few years now. And what else did I do? Another Enough's Enough connection, Johnny Monaco, who's playing in Enough's Enough. We did a solo tour of the UK with him. And then, went to the States with Bulletboys for a 3-week tour. That was kind of another last minute thing. I was sat at work on a Monday. I knew they was going out on tour. They'd got Lonnie back in the band. And I got a text from Rich, the drummer. Dude, we've fired Lonnie. How soon can you be over here? And I just showed it my manager. I says, there's a couple of weeks holiday I've got. Any chance I could use them like now? So I got the text on Monday. On Wednesday evening, I was in Minneapolis.
Fantastic.
For 3 weeks.
Man, you've got all the luck in the world, sir. That's amazing.
I've missed out on a lot of things. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very cool how you went out you sent that email.
Yeah. That leads to so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That's what they say, like, always do something that kind of scares. And when the email came back in, I had a bunch of things lined up for those 2 weeks. I'm like, can I really cancel these things? Is it worth the hassle? And I'm so glad I did cancel them and learn those songs.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I always like to say, the answer is always going to be no if you don't ask. Right? So, I mean, what's the worst can happen? Someone tells you no. Yeah. Happens to me all the time with the guests on this show.
I just don't hear anything back.
Yeah, that happens a lot too. So now Straight to Video podcast was not originally a podcast. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. That was my being a non-songwriter, that was my solo project.
Okay. And it was a cover project.
Yeah. Going back to the movie soundtrack thing, I thought, I don't write songs. I always say I've been very lucky to be in bands with some amazing songwriters.
Why don't you write?
I did when I first started,
Mm-hmm.
but then started playing in bands. I'm like, my songs aren't as good as these guys. And I was happy just to be a part of the band.
Yeah.
So I thought, but I want to do something on my own. So I thought, I'm trying to think some of the stuff that inspired me. And I think strangely, one of them was Ricky Rocket's solo album. I don't know if you ever remember that.
I don't remember that.
Was it Glitter for Your Soul or something?
Yeah.
He did this like throwback 1970s glam rock thing where he just did cover versions and got all his friends to play on the album.
Look that up. I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't remember when it was. It must have been like 99 or something like that. So my initial thing for straight to video was I want something which encompasses everything I'm into: films, movies, pop culture. So I thought I'll put together a cover band to do movie soundtrack songs. I know enough people, but I soon realized that putting together a band like that is a lot harder than I realized it would be. And I was just speaking to a friend of mine, KC, at a gig one time. He knew about I was doing this thing, and he says, "How's the straight to video thing going?" I says, "Man, I can't get a band together." And he says, "Well, why don't you just do it as a recording project?" I'm like, "Oh, that's what Ricky Rocket did. I can do this." So yeah, that was started as like a cover band recording movie soundtrack songs. So rather than a full band, I got my friend Mickey to play all the drums. Then I just got, let's call them special guests to do all the other stuff, different singers, different guitarists, me on bass, occasionally do some singing, and did an EP, which turned into an album. And then I've just done the occasional song ever since.
And you're still doing it.
Yeah, I just did a cover of Fastway's Trick or Treat for my Halloween single.
I've got that.
Yes, you ordered a t-shirt, boss. Thank you. Down. It made it. Yeah. It made it.
It made it. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So how did it turn into a podcast?
Everybody's got a podcast, right?
Yeah, you and I do.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I was a big fan of like Kevin Smith's podcast, Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, when that came out, and started listening a lot to Mark Maron's podcasts. And again, lockdown, I'm the least technical person in the world. Everything I've got set up here, it's never going to move, because if I unplug something, I have no idea where it goes back in.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I found a YouTube video during lockdown of this guy that explained everything. This is what you need. This give you reasonably good sound quality, because I always wanted it to sound pretty good.
Yeah.
And I had some time on my hands, so I thought, right. I used to do a fanzine in the early 2000s. So I got into the method of interviewing bands. It wasn't new to me. And I kind of missed it. I'd spent like 10 years gigging. I thought I miss speaking bands and making those connections with people. So yeah, the podcast allowed me to do that in the modern way instead of a printed fanzine. It's now a recorded audio one. So I've been loving it, man. I mean, you must find it rewarding as well.
Yeah. I started this just for a fun thing. I used to, like yourself, I had something going on before my podcast, but it was more of it was probably 99, 2000.
Yeah.
I had a website called coffeestain.com. And
that's where that comes from.
Yeah. We used to have a radio show we did out of our garage. We built a little studio, and we would have local bands. It wasn't on like, a national level, but we'd have local bands come in the studio and chat with them like we're chatting now. And we would record it just on a video camera and then convert it to like a real audio file. I don't know if you remember that format, but that's what we used to do. And then, the buddy that I started this show with, we just decided, why don't we do a podcast?
Yeah.
So
sweet.
Very similar.
How's the response been? The response been to it?
It's
been hard to gauge sometimes, isn't it?
It is real hard, because you see numbers, and then certain episodes get higher numbers than others, and you're like drastically different, and you're like, what happened here? Because the one that gets higher sometimes is to you, not as popular as a guest that should have had more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to figure out how everything works.
Yeah. It's fun though. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it gets to be a lot of work. But that's why I started, was for fun.
Yeah.
And like you said, now, booking and scheduling and editing, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing it yourself. Do you do everything yourself?
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a control freak as well when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You have kids or no?
I don't know, unfortunately.
Okay.
No. I think maybe I would have liked to have kids, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've got 3 living at home, and sometimes I'll come in here and my cords will be unplugged from my little thing. So I got to figure it
That's
back
a deal
out.
breaker.
So I'm telling you, just be ready if you have kids.
Sweet, man.
So, I mean, where do you see your podcast going? What would you like it to become?
I don't know. It's hard to tell you. I mean, I started a Patreon page last year just to try, because I actually quit I was working at a printing company for like over 20 years, which was awesome. I could have like rode that out until retirement. It was great with the music as well, because they're really accommodating when I had tours. Most of the time I was lucky I could use holiday time for touring. Even when we was like full on with Teenage Casket Company in the early 2000s, I think we did, Rob Wilder be able to give me the actual number, but I think we did close about 150 gigs one year.
Okay, that's good. And
I never had to take any, it never caused any problems with my work. I'd like work, drive,
that's a plus.
Come home. Yeah. Yeah, we hammered it for a few years. And yeah, I could have rolled out in that job until retirement, but I thought I'm in my late 40s now, and I got to change. I got to do something different. So yeah, I made the leap just after lockdown. And so the podcast has been keeping me busy. They say consistency is the key to it. Just keep churning out those episodes. But yeah, it'd be nice to see grow a little community on Patreon or something like that, and help things tick over.
Is that all you do, is the podcast? I
do the podcast. I still do some design stuff through my contacts from printing and things like that. So, and I've got this little mini business which I call Arcade Frames. I don't know if you've seen me post.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to get into that.
Oh, so, cool, man.
Yeah, that's what, like little Lego minifigures or something, right?
Yeah. 47-year-old man quit his job to go play with Lego.
Yeah. Well, tell me about
the man.
Tell me about these Arcade Frames. I mean, how did that start? I mean, how much time is involved in that?
How it started was I got one, well, not one of mine, but I got pretty much the same thing as a gift for Christmas from my nephew, which was just this little frame, this little box frame, which had these cool horror figures in it, little like Lego style minifigures. I was like, oh, that's great. And my ego, big head thought, that's great, but I can do better.
Yeah.
And it was another way to do a pop culture thing and get my interests out that way. So yeah, I thought, how easy is it to get these figures? What do I need to do? So I found a website that I didn't realize you could get as many cool, like 80s themed minifigures. So I found a bunch. You could get Lost Boys ones. I thought, oh, this is amazing. So yeah, I just started from then, did a few designs, about 10 designs, put them up online. People seem to like them. And it's just kind of snowballed since then. I thought, oh, maybe I could sell these at conventions. So I started doing small stalls at conventions in the local area, and it's just grown and grown. I did a big one in Liverpool, a whole weekend thing, which was one of the proper comic cons.
Okay.
I was what we call bricking it over that one. I thought, is this going to cost me a lot of money? But people loved them again. And so, yeah, that'd be nice to see that grow, and that'd be another like revenue stream, if you like. So I think that's the thing these days, get all these different income streams and revenues coming in. So
yeah. So are they available online?
They are, yeah. I've got like an Etsy store. Okay. I sound like a little old lady or something. Check out my Etsy store. But yeah, sell them all online. Shipping to America is criminal, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The last year or so, it's just gone through the roof. But if anyone seriously wants one, hit me up and we can work out the postage. Any shipping to the US, I'd just do it at cost, because it's probably costs as much as the actual frame itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good fun. And people, just to see people come to the stalls, and every time someone stops, I always see them smile. So it's ticking boxes somewhere. People are into it.
Yeah. So what do you hit up that, like you mentioned the Comic Cons and stuff? Is those are the kind of conventions you go to?
Yeah, it's unbelievable how many there is actually. Like from all different sizes, like small, what we call leisure centers and all that kind of thing. They're kind of my go-tos, because it's not as expensive to do those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just growing it slowly and slowly. Try and do as many of those as I can. And take it from there.
You a big collector of old 80s stuff, and like do you collect stuff?
I used to be. I had to stop. It gets out of hand, as you can see.
It's so fun though, right?
Yeah. You can see my wall behind me. You can see my CDs and some DVDs. Down here is my entire VHS collection, which I've still got. I've got some VHSs here, and all my books and stuff are here. So I had to stop, because like you, I saved a bunch of my toys from back in the day, which I've still got in the attic, which is getting out of control.
Yeah, I get crap all the time from my wife about my toys.
Yeah,
for a grown man with toys.
And there's so much cool stuff these days as well to buy, constantly coming out.
Yeah. You know what I was into for a while was those Funko Pops. I don't know if you were into those, but
I've got maybe half a dozen of them.
Yeah, I probably got about a few hundred up in my attic.
Wow.
Yeah, but
you went all in on those.
I did. I just, I did. Once you bought one, it was just addicting for me. I just had to get another.
So the cool thing about those is they release stuff. Well, you can get Funko Pop figures for stuff you never see anything for. I mean, over here I've got a Kelly Bundy one.
Yeah.
A Sherilyn Fenn one, and I've got a Corey Haim one from Lost Boys. You can't get any merchandise from any of those things anywhere else.
Right.
So when it's something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta have that.
Yeah. But I had to stop too, so I don't. She's
keep them in the boxes and everything.
Oh yeah, I got some right up there. They're what's up there? Those are my Motley Crue and Aerosmith ones up there. Yeah.
They're doing an Eddie Van Halen one as well. That's coming out.
I know. It's not out yet, I don't think.
No.
I did get on the email list to be notified though, so it might be another. Might have 201 of them soon.
Yeah. Superb, man.
Oh man. All right, Rob. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you getting up. What time is it over there? It's like early in the morning, right?
It's 10 a.m. at the moment.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you getting up super early.
Hey, like I said, you got to do what you got to do, right? But yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, well, likewise, mate. I appreciate you reaching out and having me on your show. It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
All righty.
Well, listen, you take care and we'll talk soon.
All right. You have a very Merry Christmas, mate.
You too.